I bought both Universal Human Face Rig and Body Rig from Chris Jones sometime in the past, and I wanted to make a quick video giving an overview of it. So the face rig and body rig are sold separately, and you do have to have them both to get a file like this. And I will only be talking about the general functionality and any parts that I find particularly interesting for me. So to start with, there's a very handy annotations collection. It's an overlay which explains every single part of the rig. I find it to be a huge plus. Most of the rig questions can really be answered just literally by reading the description for the controls. The basic body rig adheres to conventions. There are IK and FK controls and switches for arms and legs. There are obviously controls for the torso, the head and neck. There are twisting wrists functionality, so you don't get that ugly deformation that you usually get with a simple rig. And obviously, pull targets, tweaks, and other features you would find in a professional rig. I had to get used to the way the spine works, so you do have to move both the pelvis and the torso control together, or chest control together, in order to move the character's whole torso. Otherwise, it might get deformed incorrectly. So that's something to keep in mind when using this. Let me just make a quick pause here to demonstrate some more of the functionality. And the thorax control can be used for fine-tuning the pose. Now the fingers, let me talk about the fingers. They can be controlled with IK. So there are IK controls at the fingertips, which allow you to move them fairly conveniently. Or there are also curl controls, so you can curl fingers individually. I do find it pretty beautiful the way the geometry deforms. It's very realistic and informed by real human anatomy. There's also an interesting floor constraint for the fingertips, so they don't move past the floor. I don't know how really useful that is, but it is interesting. Now, as for the feet, the toes functionality is limited in that only the whole toe section can be moved all at once, so there doesn't seem to be any way to move the toes individually. So in that way, the toe rig could perhaps be expanded upon. Now, obviously, the rig also very conveniently comes with controls for changing body proportions. And most of them are located at the corresponding limbs. So if you want to change the limb's attachment position, for example, there's a corresponding bone control to do that. So you just pick the bone and you start moving it to where you need it to be. Also, there's, of course, the length controls, which allow you to change the limb length seamlessly across the whole body. So if I wanted to make some kind of dwarf character, I could change the proportions of the all the limbs. Let me try to do that real quick. And the spine can be pretty much everything that could need adjustment to its proportions can be controlled here. Now the rig also comes with controls for male to female, age, and race controls, which I don't have all of them. I only have the male to female base mesh, which is also sold separately by Chris. So let me try to show off at least some of that functionality. So there's a gender control bone, and if you rotate it, then you get either the fully female or the fully male version of the rig. Sorry, of the mesh, and it's even shaped interestingly like the gender symbol, which changes. Now these, yeah, as I said, these race controls and other controls, you can actually move them and do stuff with them, but it doesn't change anything except the bone positions and, as you can see, the teeth mesh position. So you do have to have these meshes to actually make proper use of it. And there's also, Chris has recently come out with an advanced rig, which has the muscles and tendons and other stuff, which I unfortunately also don't have, but I do plan on getting it at some point because it's just so cool, really. Now let's talk about the face rig, of course, which is a huge part of this. By the way, the bones are all conveniently sorted into collections here. So for IKFK, proportion, and etc., everything that you could need. And yeah, as for the face rig, you do have the ability to control pretty much everything you could want. So there's the eye target. That's pretty normal. There are all kinds of... And what I like about this rig particular is that it's not overburdened with the enormous amount of controls, which can see, for some rigs, complex rigs, can seem overwhelming. This seems very, this doesn't look intimidating at all. I mean, it's very intuitive to control, really. So I just make just a quick smile pose here. And there are obviously the jaw. And if you wanted to make like a, you know, chewing motion for the character, there's even control for it. There's like a zipper for the mouth so that it stays closed while chewing. It's all, it's not exactly revolutionary, any of it. We might have seen all this in other rigs, but the way it's organized here I find excellent. As I said, it's very easy to use, and there are even some finicky, or should I say, just specific controls for stuff like, you know, the iris, radius and stuff. And I should mention that a lot of this stuff is supposed to work with the materials that Chris has created, so like the skin shader and the eye shader, which I also unfortunately don't have, and it would probably be a lot more impressive if I did have them, but you know, the goal of this video is really just to show off the basic body and face rig. But yeah, you do have the ability to control stuff like that, the eyelids, and other things you would need. And yeah, I just find the topology overall to be excellent as well. It's well suited for animation, so the edge flow, it does follow the conventions for example, around the places where the body would deform, there's more edge flow. It does seem somewhat unconventional in some parts, but I do believe, you know, if you've seen Chris's videos, they're just on another level when it comes to realism. So I just, you know, trust him pretty much to make the best possible decision when it comes to topology. So if I see that something is shaped the way it is, it's probably for the best. So even here in the legs, you can see that the edge flow does follow the muscle flow of the body anatomy. And so yeah, it's just, especially in the fingers, it's obvious that it's very realistic to the way a human body would really deform. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this purchase. I was looking for an ultimate kind of base mesh that would serve as a, for creating future meshes on top of it, but it importantly, it can also be animated right out of the box. And yeah, as I said, I wasn't gonna make a huge video, it's just a quick overview, not an in-depth analysis. This is obviously a very complex rig, but if you do have any questions, leave them below and I will answer if I can.